everyone, welcome to another session with Niger Dentists in Canada. My name is Dami. I'd like to say thank you for following my page and thank you for your time that you're spending with me today. Today we're going to be talking about how to write a good personal statement for your dental school application. Like I always say, a personal statement is a first introduction. It's the first introduction of yourself to the admission committee, and so it's very important that you leave a good, lasting slash memorable impression in your statement of purpose or your personal statement. Let's go. Your statement of purpose or your personal statement is not enough. You actually have to really put in so much effort. You always have to have a plan, or I would say a plan, because in a way you want to lead your reader in a process of, oh, this is how my life started, this is where I am right now, and this is where I'm going to, this is the direction that I'm hoping that my life will go into. It's so serious that some people actually employ writers or professional writers to actually write a statement of purpose for them or a personal statement for them. But I personally wouldn't advise you do that, because I just feel like nobody can write your story like you would. Nobody can represent you like you would. Nobody knows you better than yourself. I personally wrote my personal statement myself. Of course, I wrote my personal statement. I sent it to like other people around me to help just edit out like errors, not necessarily trying to add to the personal statement, but just edit out like typographical errors that I might not have seen. I reread everything over and over again just to make sure that it made sense to me, because I have this saying that if something doesn't make sense to you, it's not going to make sense to the next person. Facts. Now we're going to talk briefly on how to ace your statement of purpose, how to ace your personal statement. The first thing that I always say is write a draft. It is very important that you have like a draft. So what I did was, because I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to say, or rather I had an idea of what I wanted to say, but I just didn't have the words to put into it. And so I did what I normally do with any essay that I have to write. I just wrote a draft, and so there I just wrote everything that was coming to my brain, everything that, whether it made sense or not, I just wrote it in the draft. For me, that was just like the beginning. That was my template. Of course, I was going to edit, take out some things, add some things, adjust some things, move things here and there. And that's always the plan. You do a draft, you move things here and there, do some edits here and there, and then you have the final product. Always good to start with a draft. You also want to make sure that you write out questions that you want to be answered in your personal statement. So very good example is what I said initially, where you want to talk about where you started with your journey, where you are right now, and where you're hoping that your career, your life moves into, basically your future goals, right? That's a good example of a question that you want answered, and you can tailor your personal statement to follow that flow. Another good question might be what do I want to show the admission committee about myself? What are the things that I want them to know about myself? Another good question would be what are the strengths what are my strengths that I want to portray? What are my weaknesses that I want to portray, and let them know that I have worked on these weaknesses and they have now become my strengths? What are the questions that you want answered? Because at the end of the day, like a storybook, you want to create an idea, a mental picture of who you are to the admissions committee, so that when they read it, so that when they're done reading, they have an idea of who you are. They have an idea of what your personality is like. They're able to visually put you in a class or take you out of class and say, you know what, this person is a good fit, this person might not be a good fit. That's the idea of a personal statement, okay? A very good plan is, when you have written out the questions that you want answered, you also want to tailor those questions to, or you want to link them to how they have helped you to become a better dentist, or you want to link it to dentistry one way or the other. For example, if I'm talking about my strength being the fact that, you know, I'm very good, I have great organizational skills, for example, if I must say, okay, if I wanted to say that I have great organizational skills, the way that I can tie it to dentistry is say, okay, you know what, because I have great organizational skills, I'm able to like mentally prepare myself for my day. I'm able to allocate duties to members of the dental team, hence ensuring a smooth flow of the day in a dental clinic. I'm able to sell dental treatments to patients in a way that they understand what I'm saying, they understand what it is that I'm trying to get them to achieve in terms of ensuring that they have the best treatment. Just look for a way to like tailor it to dentistry. You know what, this is what my strength is. My strength is A, and hey, A has helped me to become a better dentist. Or you can say I'm a very good communicator. And one thing I hate that people do is they'll be like, oh, I'm a good communicator, or I have good organizational skills, and they leave it at that. Or they say, oh, I have great organizational skills and this has helped me to become a good dentist. No. Anybody can talk a good game. You need to be able to give examples of situations where that has come into play, and you know that you need to be able to give good examples of how that has come into play. For example, I remember me saying, maybe not even, let's not even go as far as that. For example, saying that I have good communication skills. Maybe I can say, well, I have good communication skills, and that has helped me to be able to interact well with my patients. For example, I had now this is me giving an example of a personal statement, right? I remember a patient coming in and she was scared, she had dental phobia, and you know, because I have good communication skills and I'm able to read people, I was able to see that she had dental phobia. How was I able to see that? I can always state, oh, she was agitated, she was sweating, she was, you know, those are little things that you can see in your personal statement. Oh, she looked agitated. Or I asked her if she's ever been to the dental clinic, and she said, oh no, she normally avoids coming to the dental clinic. And after talking to her, trying to make her feel comfortable, talk about how you made her feel comfortable, how you talked about things that were totally not related to dentistry, how you talked about her favorite ice cream, her favorite color, everything you talked about to help her feel relaxed on the dental chair. And at the end of the dental appointment, she was able to give you that feedback and say, you know what, you actually made me feel much more comfortable in the dental chair. That's a good example of how your good communication skills came to play in dentistry and has made you a better dentist to your patients. Don't forget, whatever you talk about as your strength or as a quality that you have, always make sure that you tailor it to dentistry and how that has made you a better dentist, or how that makes you a better candidate than the next person who's applying for the program. So now you have your draft. Now you have the questions that you want to be answered. Now we're ready to fine-tune our draft, or should I say, now we're ready to build on our draft to make an amazing personal statement. Let me just add before going further that another thing that you want to also have in mind is to ensure that you have a story that buttresses every point you're trying to make. That's one thing. And also, you don't want to put in too many points in a paragraph. Remember, your personal statement is going to be in different paragraphs, right? So you don't want to somewhere in paragraph 1 you've talked about 10 different points moving in 10 different directions. You don't want your reader to be confused, right? You don't even want to confuse yourself. So like I said, you've written your draft, you write a number of questions that you want answered. Or do you want to talk about your strengths? Do you want to talk about your weaknesses? Maybe not talk about them so much. Do you want to talk about your strengths? Do you want to talk about hobbies that you have? You know, you want to answer different questions. You want to have an idea of the questions that you want answered, and then begin to tailor it in such a way that, okay, you know what, paragraph 1 will probably just be like my intro. Paragraph 2 will probably just talk about 2 or 3 points, maybe 2 points. 3 might be pushing it. Paragraph 3 will talk about 2 points, and paragraph 4 will be concluding. So at the end of the day, you ensure that each paragraph is talking about 1 or 2 different things about yourself, and you're not clogging up too many points into your paragraph. So we have our draft. We already have the questions that we want answered. Now we have a plan as to how we want each paragraph to look like. The fourth thing is you want to make sure that paragraph 1 leads into paragraph 2. So you don't want a situation where you're writing a personal statement and it looks like 4 different stories or 4 different paragraphs. Each paragraph should lead to the next. So what do I mean? The beginning of your paragraph, you're introducing what you're about to talk about, right? The ending of your paragraph, you should be introducing what we're going to basically talk about in paragraph 2. Do you catch my drift? Point number 4. So we talked about how it's good to have a draft, and then you also want to write down some questions that you want to answer through your personal statement, and you want to break it down into paragraphs. So paragraph 1 is, for example, introducing who you are. Paragraph 2 is answering maybe 2 or 3 questions, maybe 2, 3 might be pushing it. Paragraph 3 is talking about another 2 points that you want to bring out, and then paragraph 4 is basically like concluding. So you kind of want to have that system in your mind. And 4, make sure that with every point that you make, you also have a story that you're using to buttress your point. So you don't want to write things like, I'm a good communicator. This has helped me to be a good communicator to my patients. Duh. Of course that has helped you do that, but you also want to write like a story, a real life story of how this actually came into play to make it very interesting and very catchy. Again, you don't want your story to be too long, hard to imagine, too complicated. Remember, we don't want your personal statement to be too long. So you get your story, a quick story, just to buttress your point. It might not necessarily be buttressing every point in the paragraph, but maybe just buttress one point in the paragraph, just to bring your life into like perspective, or just to help the reader to imagine what you're trying to pass across to them. Have you ever imagined reading a book that you can't really imagine what they're talking about? Boring, right? Exactly. Now that we've gotten all that out of the way, now you're ready to write your personal statement, or should I say, now you're ready to build on your draft to create a masterpiece. I'm going to give you my pointers and what I use for my personal statement. Paragraph 1 should talk about who you are. Basically, it's an introduction into who you are and what informed your decision to become a dentist. We all come from different walks of life. We all come from different life experiences. So different things has led different people into dentistry. So they want to know what is unique about your story that led you into dentistry. For me, I just basically told them about how I had an accident as a child, and that led me that threw me into the world of medicine. For me, I didn't even know there was anything called dentistry, because in Nigeria, it's like you're a medical doctor in medicine or you're a lawyer, and that was it. So for me, I didn't even know there was anything called dentistry, and I wrote that there as well. You want to make your story very, very catchy and very unique. You want to write a story. You want to give them information about you that will be hard to forget. Again, your paragraph 1 has to be catchy. Have you ever imagined you reading a book and then you're at the first page and like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can make it through this? That's the difference between an amazing personal statement and a horrible personal statement. You need to give them something catchy, something that will catch their attention and be like, you know what? I can read the rest of this personal statement, even if it's like 500 words. I bet it's going to be what the read. That is what your paragraph 1 should look like. In paragraph 2 or 3 or 4, depending on what you want to do, you're talking about your experiences as a dental student, your experiences as a dentist. You're talking about your clinical experiences, your volunteer work, your community service, extracurricular activities, or maybe even things that happen in school that, reaffirmed your decision to become a dentist, or reaffirmed your decision to, go into like community service. You're basically giving them an idea of what your journey was, right from the point that you decided to become a dentist to the point where you actually became a dentist. For me, I just talked about how a lot of patients that we saw then were more focused on taking out their their teeth, and I didn't really like that, because I feel like my nature is to fix things before you just toss them out. And so I just felt like, why are we not trying to save this teeth? What can we do in terms of the way we're practicing dentistry to ensure that people don't get to the point where they ultimately just have to take out their teeth? And that kind of like pushed me to decide that, you know what, in as much as, yes, I'm in dental school now, I'm in the best school, University of Lagos, woo woo, I give you your phones, you like, it's the best school in Nigeria. Anyways, in as much as I was receiving the best education, I knew that I needed to further my education, because I knew that I needed an advanced form of education where I can actually like deal with teeth that somebody else will just toss out, and then I can always invent other ways to try and save the teeth, as long as there's like a chance to try and save that teeth. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So I kind of gave them an example of an experience I had with a student, with a patient in school, and that kind of like pushed me in the direction of, you know what, I'm in school now in my 500 level, but you know what, once I'm done with school, I'm leaving this country to go and further my education. So that let them know that, you know, that lets them know that, you know what, I was in dental school, but I was already planning my future. That lets them know that I'm the kind of person that I like to plan ahead. I'm an organized person. I like to give the best to my patients without even actually saying all those things. So in a way, you have to write a story that reflects your strengths without actually having to say much. Do you catch my drift? So you can always spend like 2 paragraphs talking about your experiences. You can always talk about maybe community service, you know, maybe an experience that you had with someone in the community, and that made you feel like, you know what, you have to do your best to become the best dentist so they can actually give back to your community. There are so many things you can talk about. Remember, don't write too much. Pick the points that you want to express and the points that you want to elaborate, and take it from there. If you do decide to make talk about your experience, your volunteer experience, your community work in 2 paragraphs, I would say always leave a paragraph where you're able to highlight or talk about the hobbies or the interests that you have outside of dentistry. This is because a lot of people don't understand that most of these schools want a well-rounded individual. So they don't necessarily want someone who's just only about dentistry 24/7. They want someone who also has a social life, who has other interests outside of dentistry, because you know what, that lets them know that you'll be able to connect with patients on a personal level, because you can talk to them about many things. You can relate with your patients in so many ways. You can connect with them about football, about dance, about music. Not that the only thing you know in life is dentistry. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you have interest outside of dentistry, please talk about it. And then talk about how that makes you a better dentist. Talk about how that helps your strength. Talk about how that makes you have skills that another person wouldn't have. That's the way to sell yourself. For example, for me, I am the kind of person that I've always had I have a background in I wouldn't say I have a background, but I've always been into creativity, like dancing, musicals, painting. I used to paint as a child. Like that ended because my parents wanted me to become a doctor. You know, I used to paint, I danced, I used to act. You know, I had different ways that I always expressed my creativity. And then, you know, I was also like into interior decoration back in Nigeria. So I'm that type of person who's looking for ways to like create art, like create things that are beautiful and all that. And the way that has helped me as a dentist is the fact that when I see a tooth, I'm looking for creative ways to fix it. I'm thinking outside of the box. I'm not just thinking about only what, you know, what every other person is doing. I'm thinking about what every other person is doing as well. But if I see that doesn't fit for the patient, I'm thinking of other creative ways to fix that tooth, to ensure that I'm able to give the patient the result that they need and also do no harm. That tells them that I'm someone who is innovative. That tells them that if I come to their school and I innovate something that solves all the problem in the world, when I talk about the school that I went to, their school will be mentioned. There are just so many ways that you can sell yourself to these people, and you will get the point without you actually saying anything. The next thing you want to talk about, which is your last paragraph, is where you're going to conclude. That is where you just want to, yep, now we're done. Now we're concluded. So you want to talk about what your plans are. Usually they like you to talk about like your 5-year plan, your 3-year plan. You can talk about a 5-year plan. You can talk about a short-term plan, and you can talk about a long-term plan. Oh, okay, so once you're done with dental school, what's next? You want to tell them, okay, so I'm going for a residency program, or I want to set up my own clinic, or I want to do some residency training first, or once I'm done, I'm going to set up a non-governmental organization. I can bet you that everybody that writes an application talks about how they want to set up a non-governmental organization. But what can make you unique is talking about how your experiences in life has informed you or has led you to that decision of wanting to set up a non-governmental organization. For example, I come from a background where in my country a lot of people don't have access to just basic health needs, right? And so I know that, and so I told them that when I become a dentist, once I'm practicing, I'm definitely going to set up like a non-governmental organization where we can actually create services to communities in my country that don't have access to basic healthcare services. Even goes much more beyond dentistry. I told them about what my background was, what the needs are in my community, and when I become a dentist, this is how I'm going to help solve that. Okay, so with these 2 points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you that it is very, very possible for you to have like an amazing personal statement. It is not rocket science. It's all about you sitting down, having a plan, hashing it out, and then even when you write your personal statement, it's actually okay to actually like marinate on it, like keep it for like 2 weeks, send it out to people, let them edit out like typographical errors, reread it to yourself. If you feel like you put in too much information, it's actually okay to take it out, right? But at the end of the day, make sure that whatever personal statement you're sending out is the best representation of who you are. Okay, have a great day. Bye.